All right, now that I got this inner quarter structure welded in the way that I like it, I can move on to prepping this outer wheelhouse for getting it welded in. I'm going to start by drilling the holes, or at least marking where I want to drill the holes around the quarter panel flange there, the wheel well lip, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, let's do that. Okay, I've marked kind of where I want my holes in this fender lip, but the outer wheelhouse here doesn't fit uniformly all the way around. Some areas it's pushed in that way, and some areas it's out this way. Like especially over here, you can see how much this overhang is here. So what I'm doing is just taking the step bit here and going ahead and drilling a small hole just through the quarter panel fender lip, and do that all the way around. And then I've got a nice solid area that I know where I want my hole to be, and I can drill it. Get these done. Okay, I used the step bit there, made a little divot, and then I pulled this outer wheelhouse off there and finished drilling them all the way through. And then I threw it back on there, and then I looked at how much I really hate this area here, the way that it fits. It doesn't fit all that great, but I figure, and yeah, you can see my hole here is just completely missed the mark, but that's okay. I'm not real worried about it as long as the rocker panel and quarter panel line up and look straight and look good. I think I can just go ahead and weld it in there and maybe do a lap weld over across this stuff here or whatever. But anyway, I think it'll be fine. I'm not going to worry too much about it. If I sit here and nitpick over every little thing, this thing will never get done. So yeah, I got that drilled out. Now, before I weld this outer wheelhouse in here, I want to do a little rust prevention, because like I've got it bare metal here, I've got it bare metal here, I've got a brand new piece with E-coat on it here. So what I want to do is coat all this guy that's not going to be welded on with epoxy primer. Same thing up in here, epoxy primer, this, and up around here, and then just along this fender lip where I'm going to be welding, I want to do weld through primer all the way around in there. And yeah, hopefully I can make it so this thing doesn't rust out. Now, before I go spreading epoxy primer on this, I need to scuff this with a Scotch-Brite. And I also want to treat this with, I picked up some Eastwood Fast Etch, and I spray that on here and try and kill this rust as best I can. I think I'll start with scuffing this guy. Okay, I got the outer wheelhouse all scuffed up and ready, looking good. Now I'm going to move on and treat the little rust pitting on the inside of this with some Fast Etch. Now, before I get to Fast Etching this, I should remove any grease that may be on it. So I'm going to wipe it down with acetone, and then I'm going to hit it with the Fast Etch and get that going. Quick wipe down with some acetone, and then I sprayed this with some of the Fast Etch. And yeah, you can see it really getting to work there. It's really cleaning this up. It's turning white. And yeah, I think it says to keep it wet for half an hour, and I don't think that'll be a problem. And yeah, let's let this do its job. And I'm just working this in a little bit with a Scotch-Brite pad, and boy, it's really taking that rust off there. Awesome. Okay, after letting this soak and scrubbing it a little bit with the Scotch-Brite for about an hour here, it's looking real good. I like it. There is a bit of a chalky, powdery white coating, especially along the edges. I assume that's where I let it dry a little bit. I'll probably rub that off with a dry Scotch-Brite, and before I lay any primer on it. I still want to do the other half of this wheel arch and down and around this area here, so I'll do that, and then I'll be ready for some primer, I think. Okay, use the Fast Etch down in here, down in this rocker area. Up around here, there's no rust, so I didn't feel it was necessary to do any Fast Etch up in there. Here, I'll show you. It's pretty spiffy in there. I did wipe it all down with acetone real good. Taped it off here where I don't want epoxy primer to go. All around there and over here. Those are all going to be where I'm welding, where I'm going to be welding on this. Let's go over to the outer wheelhouse. I wiped it down with acetone real good as well as taped it off. I'm going to mix up some of this here Proform 2K epoxy, and I'm just going to brush it on. So let's do that. Okay, I got one coat of epoxy primer on here. That stuff brushes on like milk, so it doesn't look great. But you know what, I think if I get another coat on it, maybe even a third coat, it'll look just fine. I also did the inside there. It's looking all right. Yeah, I'm gonna throw another coat on here and see how it looks. All right, I think I know why it painted on like milk. Because it's got some solids in it here. I shook it up good last time, but I didn't stir it. This time I'm going to stir it up and see what I get. Oh yeah, that's way, way better. Brushed on like a champ. I went ahead and pulled the tape off because I put 2 coats of epoxy primer over the one shitty coat that I put on there. It looks good. It's already dry for the most part. I mean, it's not completely dry, but it's mostly dry. Let's check it out in here. Yeah, I got her in there. Got her up around there. So that's where that wheelhouse is going to sit up against here. And so I figured, you know, that's a great place for dirt to get up in there and cause corrosion in the future. So I took care of it. Got her looking good. All right. Next thing I can do is put Weld Through primer along all these flanges. And then weld that guy in. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, I put Weld Through primer on all the flanges there and bared the metal where I'm actually going to be welding, and clamped her up there real nice. I think I like it. Let's melt some metal. Okay, got her all welded in there. Some of my welds look like hemorrhoids, but for the most part they're pretty good. I'm going to bust out the grinder here and grind them down, smooth them up, and then fill in any welds that need some attention. I didn't weld in this trunk floor drop-off. I'm going to wait and do that whenever the floor is actually in place here. That way I can get proper exact fitment of that, the way that I like it. So let's spend some quality time with the grinder. Okay, I finished off these welds. Ground them down. I did a little bit on the fender lip and the roof support there, but I'll wait until this thing's on the rotisserie to finish those up. I just want to be able to test fit the mini tub, and I'll throw that in there and see how it's looking. And yeah. All right, mini tub's clamped up in there. It's looking pretty good. I can't complain. Front end of it here, it's all right. I don't know if you can see anything here, but yeah, inside there looks all right. It's got a little gappiness to it here and there, but it's not too terrible. I'm still not super impressed with the back end here. It's a little gappy. I can clamp this closed and pull this tight, stuff like that, and I will eventually do that, but for the time being I'm gonna swap over and do the same process on this side. I've got to repair that guy up in there. I've got to cut out this, hang on just a sec, there we go, now we can see. Cut out this manky old wheelhouse and put in the shiny new one, and do all the stuff that I just did. Yeah.